Hello class. Today we're going to try a new and improved method of drawing, dealing mostly with making that first mark. And that first mark is pretty daunting. It's one of these things that folks with any kind of a writer's block or artist block it terrifies them, and I just want to try to cover that and try to give you a little workaround. Generally speaking, most folks are familiar with a blank sheet and then proceeding to make a drawing with a number 2 pencil or a 4B pencil, and they go about it very delicately and create a drawing that perhaps looks something like this. You can mix it up a little bit and get something a little more dramatic by adding a little bit of charcoal. I'll give you deeper shades and perhaps a little more drama. And here I've got that same pencil line that was used in the first drawing, but here I've added some very nice darks that really help pop the piece and make it look a little more finished. However, the same issue exists, which is I started with a blank piece of paper. This same blank sheet that's behind us was the beginning of these first drawings. What I want to cover, as I juggle papers here, is working on something that's called toned paper. And toning a piece of paper is very easy. You see, I'm trying to get these in the frame. And this is a life drawing on a sheet of toned paper that I toned with a sepia, basically a red earth chalk that I had scumbled across the surface and then began to draw in with charcoal and lift away with my erasers. There's no white pencil whatsoever on this. It's basically the white being revealed from the sheet of paper. And this gives us something, a dimension that's not existent in just a plain white sheet. We have a middle ground to work from. We can work darker and we can come back and bring everything up to a light. And then areas such as the arms in the fields and this chest cavity region, they're already toned into a middle space. So we don't have to go over that with our pencil thousands of times in order to build that up. So how do we do this? Well, it's very simple. We grab a new pastel. New pastel is an old, here we have new pastel here. They're basically a conté crayon, chalk based. Come in a variety of colors. As you can see, they're different sizes here, but I believe they sell them in Michaels and Dick Blick, Pearl Paint, a number of places online you can reach them. And you're basically taking a stick, and lightly letting the tooth of the paper grab the pigment. So you can see I've got a horizontal line that's coming through here that was from a different drawing, or I could have creased the paper by mistake. So I'm just making these little back and forth motions, building up the amount of chalk that the tooth of the paper is grabbing. And I'm going at 45-degree angles. I can go at 90, I can go vertically 180 or 0. Then either a plain paper towel. Paper towels are very coarse, so they can actually abrade the surface of your paper depending on what kind of paper you're using. And I'm basically very lightly, very lightly going back and forth and just knocking off the loose bits. And I now have a toned surface to work from. from there, you can take a pencil, begin to draw a form. I'm going to just basically, oh, that's a little hard. I'm going to try a different one here. Give me a second, grab another one. Lighter. Use my fingers. Don't be afraid to use your fingers. They often help. And I just made a simple ball here, but I want to show you the next step, which is basically using either a kneaded eraser. I can remove much of that background. What you heard there was my eraser shield, which is a secret weapon. An eraser shield is this piece of metal, and I can proceed to erase with accuracy certain shapes, as you can see there. Don't be afraid to sharpen your eraser. I've taken a razor blade to this to make a sharp point. It was basically a wedge, and I can proceed with real confidence that when I erase, it's going to basically do what I want it to do, and with very sharp lines. A little reflective light down here. So, those of you that want to try it, it's very easy to do. You can use children's chalk. I've got some blue here the kids use in the driveway. Some of these pigments, such as cadmium and so on, you got to be real careful with. They're toxic. People can die from the dust, or at least you have neurological damage. So read your warnings. There's health warnings on most art materials. If you're sensitive to certain things, just read the box before you start in. There was a sad story about a kid in my college class that decided to airbrush with cadmium red, and a young lady was in the same room, and she developed major neurological damage, had to drop out of school, and I believe she's in like a permanent suffering state because of the cadmium that she ingested from the air. So I want you guys to be very careful about the things you use, because that dust that you saw I scrubbed away is not only ending up on this, but it's also becoming airborne. And this is a earth pigment, which is pretty inert. However, it's most likely iron oxide, which is rust, and majority of our blood platelets are made up of iron. So, however, if you have issues, work in a well-ventilated area, or just don't use those products. Now, I can really get overboard here and lift away, but then again, I can also work back in with that same red, that same iron oxide color. And build it up back to a more intense dark, more intense than the middle ground, so that it becomes something that is a step between our black and our whites. So I hope you give it a shot. It's very easy. Now, another question came up about fixing. Blair matte fixative, I use it, it's workable. Again, we have issues as far as where to spray this. Don't spray it indoors. It's highly flammable, contains propane, butane, light aliphatic hydrocarbon solvent, ethylbenzene, xylenes, alcohol, acetone, methyl ethyl ketone. Okay, all these things are going to make you really stupid really fast. So don't spray them indoors. Walk outside by the garage and shoot your stuff there. You want to use very light passes, going left, right, working down, back and forth, overlap. Then count to 10, count to 20. Start with a vertical, back, forth, up and down. 2 hits, basically, 2 passes, excuse me. Go in one way and then go in the other. Let it sit. Let it dry, probably no more than 15 minutes. It should be ready to go. And you can start back into working on it, or you can put a frame around it and go on your way. Krylon, the paint people, they also make a fixative. I've used this. If you want to go high dollar, there is Moab Desert Varnish, which works on everything from, basically they make this for computer prints, high dollar prints, and it's got the same warnings. I mean, it is the same sort of stuff. It's going to kill you if you're breathing it in. Be careful. Spray outside. Beyond drawing, this same method is also used in painting. This is a grisaille that I did, which a grisaille is basically a monochromatic. You can use black and white. This happens to be in the browns. But if you look in the background, these are basically a toned canvas, or actually it's a toned piece of board. I always tend to work on a brown or a middle tone when I paint. And it actually is a lot of shortcut. I'm working deeper and I'm working lighter from that middle ground. And where the middle ground, where I never actually painted, it'll actually harmonize with the rest of the piece. It's not like white flecks of canvas are popping through where I didn't hit it. Hear the noise here. Here's the back of one of my current pieces that I've did in 2009. But as you can see, it's made with an HP box that I've put clear gesso over. And the piece itself is a very light painting. It's a young woman kneeling. As you can see, the cardboard bleeds through. I've got some dark purpley greens, green blacks, little line and highlights. But the middle ground of that actual cardboard, the HP box, is my main color theme. And I just rely on that box to carry the tone of the piece. And everything works up and down from that center tone. So don't be afraid to try it. Okay, guys. That's the short lesson today. Toned paper. Give it a shot.